The circumstances surrounding the death of 18-year-old Henry Novak have opened up serious questions regarding how the so-called anti-racism movement has influenced policing in the UK. Novak was killed by convicted murderer Vickrum Digwa using a supposedly ceremonial blade. Yet when responding officers arrived, instead of immediately rushing over to help the dying 18-year-old as he lay slumped on the ground, they handcuffed him despite his desperate pleas for help, seemingly siding with the perpetrator, simply because he claimed he was the victim of a racial attack where his turban was pulled off. Even if that were true, which it wasn't, how would that justify stabbing a man? Those claims of a racial attack have since been proven entirely false. As we will see in this video, anti-racism isn't just an innocent theoretical dogma, it has real-world dire consequences. In this case, although investigations are still ongoing by the UK's official police watchdog, it seems it has directly resulted in a young man spending his final moments dying in handcuffs, all because of an institutional fear of committing the ultimate modern sin, being labelled a racist. This is not just some conspiratorial maybe. The BBC is now questioning this, running the headline, "Henry Novak's death raises more questions about UK policing and race." Even The Conversation published an analysis titled, "Police to Review Anti-Racism Guidance After Henry Novak Murder. Why They're Right to Do So." So obviously there's concern in the police force itself that anti-racism efforts may have gone too far. To see where this institutional capture ultimately leads, let's rewind a bit to 2017. This is Salman Abedi carrying a large backpack in Manchester. What was in his backpack? An approximately 30-kilogram nail bomb. One of the security guards who saw him thought he better not approach. Why? Out of fear of getting it wrong, being labelled a racist and losing his job. As the BBC reported more than 3 years later in 2020, Manchester Arena inquiry, security did not approach bomber over racism fears. Notably, the events company was paying him just £4.24 per hour. Due to this anti-racist inaction, Abedi went on to detonate the bomb at the end of American pop singer Ariana Grande's concert, killing himself and 22 innocent people, while injuring more than 1,000 others. What a terrible tragedy of the anti-racism movement. Then there's the case of Valdo Calocane, who came to the attention of the authorities around 2020 after a series of violent incidents, but a subsequent inquiry was told he was not committed to a psychiatric hospital due to anti-racist efforts. The Guardian reported just this year in February, "Nottingham killer was not sectioned because of his race," inquiry told. They note that Calocane was released in 2020 after mental health staff considered research on overrepresentation of young black men in detention. In 2023, he went on to murder 2 teenage students and an older man. What a failure of the anti-racism movement. Although later in April, the BBC noted, "Race not a factor in killer's assessment," inquiry told. Either way, they released a psychotic man back into the public where he went on to murder innocent people, whether race played a part in their final decision-making or not. And just one more example of this phenomenon, the case of Axel Ruda Cubana. This is him as an innocent Welsh schoolboy, and this is him featured on the BBC leaving the TARDIS as an innocent Doctor Who fan. But perhaps this is a picture you're more familiar with, his 2024 mugshot. The Sun reported on a shocking aspect of his history, running the headline, "Head who warned Southport killer was risk was accused of racial profiling." Yes, the head teacher of his former school was accused of racially stereotyping Ruda Cubana as a black boy with a knife. Well, in 2024, that boy went on to murder 3 little girls in Southport and injure many more at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class. Yet, surprisingly, despite him being an accused mass murderer at the time, The Guardian decided to still run with that innocent Welsh schoolboy photo. You know, we wouldn't want to give people the wrong idea. And just to show how ingrained all this anti-racism rhetoric has become in the UK, look at the National Police Chiefs Council, the organisation that sets the strategic direction for every cop on the beat in the country. On their official website, they proudly display a police anti-racism commitment, stating that their overarching ambition is to create a police service that is anti-racist and trusted by black people. Which begs the question, what about everyone else in society? Shouldn't the goal be to create a police service that is trusted by all citizens, regardless of their background? If you scroll down to the heading Anti-Racism and Racial Equity, they note that racial equity means producing equality of policing outcomes with understanding that these will be racialised. They are basically openly admitting that they are practicing a form of racial engineering. But most telling of all, they conclude the section by explicitly stating it does not mean treating everyone the same or being colourblind, racial equality. So there you have it. Treating people equally is no longer the goal. Being blind to a person's skin colour is actively discouraged. Because why try to administer fair, objective justice when you can judge people entirely by their immutable characteristics instead? Surely that won't lead to any catastrophic disasters on the ground. Except, of course, for a dying 18-year-old left bleeding on the pavement, a young man handcuffed and dismissed while gasping for air simply because his attacker weaponised a fake racial narrative. But hey, we better believe the uninjured murderer, right? After all, according to the official guidelines, his identity makes him the automatic victim, and God forbid an officer on the scene prioritises saving a life over protecting their own career from a career-ending accusation of racism. But don't worry, Policing Minister Sarah Jones has recently commented on that exact document I just showed you. The BBC headline declared, "Police anti-racism document gives wrong impression, Minister says." Oh, I see. Then that's all fine then. In the article, specifically addressing the policy of not treating everyone the same or being colourblind, she told BBC Radio, this particular document is a sort of values document. It's quite a short document, and I don't think it forms the basis of any training or any police activity. Ah, well that's all sorted then. Here I am thinking that these anti-racist efforts have actively hurt society, but apparently I was wrong. It doesn't actually affect any training or police activity. Stupid me.